Hey, this is Matthew Ricks, and today on the Music Business Newsletter, we got an email from an artist, 27 years old. He actually signs the email as very confused, and he creates two separate types of genres of music, and he wants to know what to do. He's kind of split. He doesn't know if he should go in this direction or that direction. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to go ahead and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have a question on the music industry that you'd like for me to answer, just go to MatthewRicks.com, click submit your question, give me as many details as possible, and we'll answer it here on the channel. I don't need you to become a member or pay or book me as a private coach or any of that nonsense. Just go to MatthewRicks.com, click submit your question, give me as many details as possible. Now for the email. He says, "Hey Matthew, I'm hoping you can help me sort something out because I feel like I'm standing in the middle of two different roads, and I honestly don't know which one to take." He says, "I'm 27, for context. I've been making music seriously for about 5 years now. I produce, write, and record everything myself from home. 27 years old, been making music seriously for 5 years. So you don't really say if you started doing this earlier, if you were in high school playing in bands and now you're just doing it all in-house. But producing, writing, and recording everything yourself from home, I love it. Keeps your overhead low. We answered an email from a girl the other day who they want $5,000 for one single. You get to work on it whenever you want and save thousands of dollars." Well, let's continue with the email. He says, "Over time, I've built up two completely different sounds without really meaning to." I don't know if this is a bad thing, but let's continue the email. He says, "One is more moody, alternative R&B, the kind of stuff that does well on Spotify playlists and sounds current. The other is more personal and raw, almost folk singer-songwriter leaning, which is honestly where my heart is." So one, we've got alternative R&B, the kind of stuff that does well on Spotify playlists and sounds current. The problem when you chase, and this drove me nuts when I was in A&R, and I work with labels today, and their big problem is that if we sign this hot artist or this current sounding artist right now, by the time we get something out into the marketplace, that sound could be over at that moment. And so the problem is, if you bank on that sound because it does well on Spotify playlists and it sounds current, I think of the ska bands in the 90s, okay? And a lot of my friends play in ska bands. I love all of you guys. I love the sound. I love the genre of music still to this day. But in the late 90s, we had the second wave of ska happen. You couldn't turn on the radio. You couldn't turn on MTV without hearing Cherry Poppin' Daddies, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Rancid was diving into the ska thing because they do the two-tone thing. And what happened for a lot of those bands, not Rancid, but with a lot of those bands, they never were able to get out of that ska bubble because it was hot. Labels were picking everybody up, throwing their music out there. I mean, I even had a zoot suit. Okay, I went to prom one year and I had a zoot suit, okay, because it was what everybody was wearing. But when that dried up, it dried up quick. And all those bands had their niche, and a lot of them are still, a lot of the ska bands are still out there doing their thing, but they never rose to the top like they did during that era with ska music. So whenever I hear somebody who's chasing after a current sound, or this is what's hot right now, so I'm going to do that, you could run into the ska wall. You could run into the boy band thing, where when you're hot, but when that bubble bursts, you have your niche fans and you never get back up on that radar again. Now, for some people, like a lot of my ska friends, they are more than content with where they're at in the world of music. They are more than content where they're at on Spotify. And they're grateful for those moments of exposure because they want to be where they're at today. Had they not had that song pop almost 30 years ago. So to chase something because it's hot right now on Spotify or it's current is a dangerous, slippery slope. If it works, you get a lot of coverage, you can make a lot of money, and then you have to you have to pivot quickly when that genre changes. I'm not really a fan of that because it just doesn't feel organic to me. It feels like you're chasing money and you're not chasing a vision. You're not chasing a love for the music you write. But on the other hand, personal and raw, almost folk singer songwriting leaning. So does it just depend on what's going on in your life? You're like, okay, I'm having a good day. My significant other is not messing with me. I got love in my life. I got money in the bank account. Let's make an alternative R&B song. But you don't tell me where you're from in the world. But if you wake up and it's overcast and raining and the girl or the boy is messing with you and you're fighting, you're like, I'm going to write some singer-songwriter folky stuff. I don't really know how it goes. But here's the thing. You put here, the other way is more personal and raw, almost folk singer-songwriter leaning, which is honestly where my heart is. Bruh, you got to follow your heart, man. You got to follow your heart. I'm like a rom-com movie right now. I'm telling you, you got to follow your heart. If you're more passionate about writing folk singer-songwriter stuff, wearing your emotions on your sleeve, that's where you got to go. Screw what's current. Screw what plays hot on Spotify. People care more about passion than they do current trends. But let's continue with his email, shall we? He said, here's the problem. The R&B stuff has gotten way more traction than anything else. I've had a few songs hit 40 to 60,000 streams, and I have thousands of monthly listeners, mostly off of the R&B stuff. Meanwhile, the acoustic, more emotional songs barely hit a couple of thousand streams, even though they're the ones I actually feel proud of. So with this, your problem is... you're probably running. So if the R&B stuff's getting 40 to 60,000 streams, you got thousands of monthly listeners. You're saying most of it came from that sound. Probably what's happened is that the algorithm on Spotify, the algorithm on Apple Music, your marketing, if you're promoting your songs on Instagram or whatever, the algorithm is kicking out the R&B songs to people. So then you're getting your followers, you're getting your streams, and then what happens is kind of like an identity crisis, because if somebody finds that song, they like it, maybe they go to play the next song, and now, we're playing rainy day music, and they click out of it. So what do you do in that situation? Well, let's continue to the email, and then we'll talk about it. He says, my more emotional songs barely hit a couple of thousand streams, even though they're the ones I feel proud of. There was, if you remember, probably 13 years ago, the Notorious movie came out, the biopic on Notorious B.I.G. And the guy, the character for P. Diddy had a moment where he wasn't, being a scumbag. But in the movie, he tells Notorious... He told him to chase the dream, not the green. And I'll change that for myself and say to chase the vision, not the money. When I've done conferences before and when I've spoken, and I even get emails from people or direct messages, and they'll say, what's a genre of music I could do that's popular? Or what could I get into the music industry that's going to bring me money? And my response has always been, and I wish I could claim that this was mine, but it's actually from the late Tony Hsieh, is... what is one thing you would do for the next 10 years that you're so passionate about and you love so much and you would wake up early and stay up late doing if you knew for the next 10 years you weren't going to get paid for it? Which one? What would you do? What is that? Because that's what you need to be doing. So right now, if you're getting 40 to 60,000 streams on an R&B song, but you kind of throw up in your mouth, and yet you got these acoustic songs that you're proud of, but they're not doing as well. Well, which one can you look at yourself in the mirror the next day after you release something? Which one can you go and show your friends and family and be proud to hold an Instagram live talking about? Chase the vision, not the money. But let's continue with the email. He says, I've reached this point where I feel like I'm living a double life as an artist. The music that performs well feels like a brand, and I accidentally created it. And the music that feels honest gets ignored. So now I'm stuck. I don't think you're stuck. I think that if you feel inspired to write an alternative R&B song, write an alternative R&B song. If you feel inspired to write emo melodies on your acoustic guitar, then write it. Stop having artists fall into this trap. Record labels fall into this trap. I have fallen into this trap with releasing the Matrix Minutes. Well, this one did well, so let me go and do something kind of in the same vein. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest about what you're passionate about. You got to be honest about what you're excited about. You got to be honest about where you're at in your life. And if you feel ashamed or you feel like you're selling out, then you will be one of those artists who, let's say you do hit 60 million streams and you're selling out tours. Is it worth you hating your life? Is it worth you hating what you create? Because what will happen is that, and I've seen it happen before, you will start resenting yourself. You will start resenting your fans because they're so stupid. And I'm so stupid, but you'll resent your fans. They're so stupid. And the reason why you feel that way is because they go for the cheap crap when they should really appreciate this stuff where it's more depth and it's more emotional and it's more honest. But you clowns only like this microwave brand crap. I see it happen all the time. I have seen it happen, and I've worked with artists before that had an album, 12 songs, 13 songs, whatever. And they have, you throw a couple of radio-friendly songs on it. We'll say it that way. And those songs take off. The band's not passionate about that stuff. They're more passionate about the album filler songs. So the songs blow up. People want to hear those. They try to cram their real songs down everybody's throat. Doesn't work. Next album comes, they want to get more experimental. They want to be honest or write the music they've always wanted. Album bombs. Well, now the pressure comes from the fans. The pressure comes from the label. The pressure comes from management. The pressure comes from yourself that you got to reclaim what you did. So then you go back to the pop factory and you just kick out more crap that you're not passionate about. And then what happens? Well, now you're not passionate about it. The fans can smell it. Fans can every second of the day can sniff when you're not passionate about something, you're collecting a paycheck. Fans can sniff out authenticity, without a doubt. The email continues. He goes, so now I'm stuck. Do I lean into what's working, even though it doesn't feel like me? Or do I restart everything and try to build an audience around the more vulnerable stuff, even though it might tank my numbers? I think you're honest and you release what is honest. So if you record an alternative R&B song and you're proud of it and you're not thinking about the numbers and you're not thinking about the streams and you're not thinking about the money, but you love the song and you're proud of it, release it. But if you're like, I'm just doing this because I know it's going to get me 60,000 streams, don't release it. You're not going to be proud of it. And you got to be proud of who you are. You got to be proud of the work you do. Years ago, we did the Matrix Minute, and I fell into this trope. I was releasing stuff that I knew was the audio music business version of clickbait. I knew it. Even now, there are emails that come in, and I'm like, oh, if we do this email, we're going to get good watch time on it. And I don't release it because I got to be proud of what I do. We get emails come in, and it could really turn us into like the Jerry Springer show with some of these emails. And I'm like, oh, that would be entertaining. And it would get watch time and it would get views, but I wouldn't be proud of myself. I wouldn't be helping the artist. It would be funny. It'd be entertaining. It's going to put some money in my pocket, but I wouldn't be proud of what I do. You got to be proud of who you are. You got to be proud of what you put out there. And so if you write an alternative R&B song and you're proud of it, release it. If you're not, don't. You dictate what your career looks like. You don't let the fans and you don't let money because you're a sellout then. And what happens with sellouts is eventually they start to hate everybody and everything because they're not being real and they're not being authentic. So the email continues. Do I lean into what's working even though it doesn't feel like me? No, you do what feels like you, regardless of what happens next. Or do I restart everything and try to build an audience around the more vulnerable stuff even though it might tank my numbers? You don't have to restart anything. You don't have to rebuild anything. You just put the music out that you're confident and you're comfortable and you're proud of. And if you lose some fans, you lose some fans. But you're proud of what you did. And then you start marketing yourself to the people who would enjoy the more personal stuff. There's a market out there for that stuff. Oh my gosh, Taylor Swift made an entire album, pissed off Swifties all over the world because she made like a folk album. Well, what happened? They came around. Your fans will too. He says, I'm scared of looking inconsistent or confusing people or losing the little momentum I have. You're going to lose momentum because people are going to realize you're not passionate about what you're doing. You're going to look inconsistent because one song you're like happy and you're loving life, and the next song you're looking miserable promoting. And confusing people, you'll confuse people because shouldn't you be happy about this release? Shouldn't you be happy about this song? You'll do that far quicker than you releasing different genres of music. Rappers do this all the time and they don't worry about it. They got one song where they go hard. That's a trap song. Then they got more of a melodic song. Then they got more of a street song. They're not worried about it. They're just releasing whatever is honest and whatever feels right for them. And the rappers who do try to follow trends, they burn out quickly. He says, but I'm also scared of waking up one day and realizing I built a music career around something that doesn't feel authentic. Right. You have to be true to yourself. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with what you're putting out there, the art that you're putting out there. Art should never be about you chasing money. Art should be about what inspires you. So he says, I guess what I'm asking is, how do you know which version of yourself to show the world when more than one part of you wants to make music? You show the part of the world that you're excited about. You show the part of the world that you are passionate about. And if that is an alternative R&B song, go for it. Pop does not have this problem. You listen to a pop album, they can have rock songs, they can have pop songs, they'll throw a rapper on a song, they'll do an acoustic song. They don't worry about it, and neither should you. You release the songs, whatever genre of music it is that you're passionate about. He says, how do artists decide which direction to bet on? The good artists, the healthy artists, the smart artists, they bet on themselves and what they're feeling. And they make the music that they want to make because they know that there are fans out there. They might have to search for it. They might have to dig deep, but they can find it. He also says, is it possible to shift your sound without throwing everything away? Yes. Just throw your music out there. Just put your new music out there. You don't have to create a new brand. You don't have to take down your other stuff unless you want to, because you just like, every time I think of it, I just throw up in my mouth. But yeah, absolutely. You decide what the market means for you. You decide what your sound is, not your fans. Your fans will vote with their ears. Your fans will vote with their feet. But there's 8 billion people in this world. Just because you might lose a couple of thousand because they like the pop stuff and now you're going in a different direction, go find those people who would like this new direction. Go find those people who are going to love your authenticity, your passion, your purpose. He says, I've talked in circles about this for months and I just don't feel any closure to any answer. I just want to make the right move without wrecking what little progress I have. You follow what you're passionate about. You follow the thing that's going to make you get up early and keep you up late, the thing that you're proud of. I have done businesses. They were successful. I was not proud of it. I have done endeavors that made money, that had eyeballs, and I was not proud of it. And I walked, and it was shocking how easy it was to walk away from it. If you've ever dated someone, and they check all the boxes, they're beautiful, they're fun, you know, they don't make your life crazy. They're not getting you kicked out of bars. They're not getting you arrested. They check all the boxes, and you go, you know what? They're perfect. They're just not my perfect person. And you walk away and people go, what? This is crazy. And you go, I get it. I get it. But I wasn't happy. You can do the exact same thing with music. Because you will look back, just like you've done that in a relationship, you will look back and go, that was the right move. It didn't make sense at the time, but it was the right move. It might be because you're happier. It might be because you now see them happier because they're free. Or they can go be with somebody who, you know, maybe checks 110% of all their boxes. Or maybe you find somebody. And the same thing happens with music. You're going to wreck your career. People will smell the fakeness. He says, thanks for reading and for your time. Signed, a very confused artist. Well, hopefully we were able to shed some light on that. Good luck. And this is to any artist. Don't chase the money. Chase your purpose. Chase your passion. Be honest. Create what you're proud of. Don't follow trends, because the trends move from day to day. You know, following a musical trend is like trying to create TikTok videos to go viral. By the time you catch it and you edit it, that trend could be over. Now you just look stupid. But thank you for the email and good luck. And send us an email and let us know how it goes with whatever you decide. And if you have a question on the music industry that you'd like for me to answer, just go to MatthewRicks.com, click submit your question, give me as many details as possible, and we will answer it right here. I ask you once again to make sure to click subscribe, like this video, leave me a comment, let me know where you agree or disagree. I'm Matthew Ricks, and until next time, I will talk to you later.